XQC, you said I was dog whistling. I don't even know how I would be dog whistling. There's some questions I have for you about what you said yesterday,
Yeah, go ahead.
but we can talk about
Ask
whatever you
away.
guys want to talk about.
No, ask away, Brett.
All right, what's going on?
Well, ask away. You said you didn't ask a question. Ask away.
Oh, you said I was dog whistling. I don't even know exactly what you said I was dog whistling on, but I would like to understand what you were talking about with that.
Um, it's just it's kind of like what Poki did. Which she kind of explained it, but it's like um implicating and making the conclusions that one thing is linked to the other, right? As you go to dialogue, and it's like the whole Gamba angle. Oh, people understand that if I say it, it fulfills their thoughts about the gambling angle without debunking it or talking about it or having to fucking talk about it at all. It's just the people that know about it know, and you're just kind of fulfilling that, and you kind of know what you're doing. So it's like it is what it is. You get it?
I don't know if that would be dog whistling. I think you're just saying that like I'm bringing up gambling when it's irrelevant to kick. Is that what you're trying to say? Because I'm explicitly like dog whistling would be I don't know, like hiding my genuine perspective on a certain thing, which is that like gambling is bad, right? Or unregulated, especially
I
unregulated
I
crypto
think
gambling is
X
bad.
used the wrong term.
Yeah, I think so
I,
too.
What?
I think he used the
Uh,
wrong word because that wouldn't be
yeah,
dog whistling.
I
let me.
maybe he was trying to say you were trying to
Shit, did I misspeak?
pander.
Unlucky.
Yeah, it's just the word. I don't know
Pandering,
what word he
maybe?
was trying to. Yeah, maybe, but I don't think it's dog whistle. Dog whistle
But
is
I don't
kind of
even
like
know what
when
it would
you
be. I don't even know what
say
I was
something that
pandering
only a
about.
certain group of people will understand. So, X, do you want to
Um,
maybe clarify what you were trying to say?
yeah. I
Virtue
mean,
signaling?
Yes, maybe that one. I
Virtue
think it's
signaling. High roading?
not that one.
Maybe high
Please
roading?
clarify.
Not this turning into a vocab lesson.
I'll clarify. I'll
I
clarify.
didn't sign up to go to English class. I
I
signed
feel
up
like
to
this whole like
watch a
link together
debate.
thing. I think it's like we talked about it like a million times, and you guys keep um, it's almost like you you kind of like validate the argument without really approaching it or talking about it, right? And it's like everybody just takes it for what it is, and you just kind of like I don't know. And then we talk about it. I mean, info we did it today, where you just talk about it, and it's like I don't know. You never really actually talk about the gambling angle of it. Um, yeah,
What do you mean by the gamble angle? Like, are you talking about stake being the like main party for Kick? Like, Kick is owned by Stake. The reason why Kick was created was because Stake. Like, here's what I believe. Okay, and I've been very open about this. I believe that Stake, the unregulated crypto gambling website, created Kick as an alternative platform so that they could have a like basic marketing arm. You know what I mean? That they could
I
still
1000% agree. I think they
yeah,
saw the massive
I
return
genuinely
that they
believe that.
were
I don't think they
getting
got
off of
in the game.
streamers, and they're
Yeah, this is what I talked about earlier. If it wasn't for the fact that Twitch was like very heavily, well, it's not that Twitch was heavily against online crypto gambling like Stake. It's more because Pokey and creators like Hassan was really outspoken about the huge spike in online gambling that took place after like creators like Aiden Ross and XQC started doing it, and they were worried that that kind of live streaming online gambling, especially one that was very unregulated to basically a child audience, which is like what most of Aiden and XQC's audience is, or at least there's a large portion of children and their audiences, that they were getting introduced to this sort of gambling that would have been easily accessible to them. So because of that, they started like talking against it, and Twitch eventually like banned stake in those sort of companies. So it's very hard to say that if it wasn't for Twitch getting rid of gambling, Kick would have made Kick Stake would have made Kick anyways. Like they made a lot of money from that whole like them being on Twitch deal, even though it wasn't a deal. It was just creators who I believe did business with Stake. I don't know if X did business with Stake. I believe Aiden did have a contract with them, but because of like their deal with him and Aiden showing his audience Stake, they saw a big increase from that. But with Twitch kind of removing them from the platform in a way, it was more accessible for them to like make their own streaming platform, basically as kind of like an advertisement for them in a way. Like they're obviously trying to compete against Twitch a little bit. Like they've been very vocal about the whole like Twitch situation going on with like the ad revenue and like their partner program. Like they're being very vocal about it, trying to sign as many people as they can, trying to be a competitor. But at the same time, you can't help but notice that they're also trying to do it as a way to like, advertise their own little gambling platform.
They're like, oh, this is valuable real estate for us to have for marketing purposes.
Yeah, I don't think they.
For
I don't think
anything,
they
really.
built it because they genuinely were like, I care a lot about the streaming space, and I want to, get involved in the streaming space. I'm a big fan of streamers. I think their goal, very openly, is to funnel traffic into Stake. When I look at Stake and I see the top category being like predominantly owned by slots gamblers who are gambling on Stake, when I see that the website was created by the owners of Stake, when I see that like some of the largest content creators outside of like Aiden and yourself and Bruce that they've recently picked up are oftentimes like the most consistently sizable audiences are often going to be roulette like gambling players, right? So that's one reason. That's not the main reason. The main reason still obviously is that it's owned by Stake, by the owners of Stake. It was created with consultation from Trainwrecks, who was a
No, it wasn't.
major.
People need
He
to
was a
stop this.
major slots player on Twitch, and it was
Wrong.
basically
Wait,
created
I mean,
after.
wrong. Against that?
Wrong. Yeah, train. I wasn't. No.
Okay, before like XQC gets to what he was talking about, something I do also want to mention too is that I don't really believe XQC is the right person to debate on this front. This really just kind of comes from like X kind of calling out Pokey and Hassan on their takes about Kick. But I don't really think he's the right person to debate about this because he has a bias when it comes to the people who are paying him $100 million over 2 years. So obviously there's that. There's the whole like, which is fine. Again, he's getting that bag. That's who cares. He's not gonna talk bad about them when he has an insane deal like that. That's insane to think about, or to even like judge him on. And Hassan and Pokey don't really judge him on that either. They understand as well, but at the same time, like, I don't think he's the right person to bring this about. Like, Moist Critical was a better person to talk about this, but even then, he wasn't in favor of Kick because he, like, was very aware, like, yeah, obviously they have a bias towards this, but they're not, like, as, like, obnoxious about it as they could be when it comes to, like, gambling and, like, advertising Stake on their platform, compared to, like, what Amazon does with its ads on Twitch. But, like, the main concern here is that, like, there's still obviously that intention on wanting to advertise it, which is why they have all these gambling creators, and why it is consistently in one of like the top categories on Kick. So obviously there's going to be a bias there from X. So you can't really, whatever you hear from X from this like little debate, just know that it does also come from the framework that he is getting paid $100 million from them.
I love Train. Okay, no disrespect to Train. Train's involvement is extremely minimal. Okay.
Well,
and
I think at this point, but during its creation, Train was like its main spokesperson. I think that's hard to.
If Train is such a small, doesn't play that big of a part with Kick, why is he constantly like one of like the biggest names brought up when it comes to like the people who work behind Kick, like the people behind it? Like, he was the person who apparently has like a connection with Aiden. He has talked to Aiden on stream before. He has done plenty of things when it comes to like really talking about. I believe he was on like a stream with a bunch of like the creators of Kick, and like he was one of them. Like, it's no secret that he plays a big part in it, and he has even like talked about like wanting to advocate, like really pushing for things to get advocated on Kick, and he's been pushing about like from the most part, from what I understand, is that I got to know Train's power in Kick when he was talking about the whole Aiden Ross thing. This was when like Aiden Ross was really popping off when he first joined Kick with all that terrible shit he was doing, and like, you know, he was one of the main talking heads at that point because he was such a big creator within the company that people were kind of looking towards him and being like, what are you going to do about this? So saying that he doesn't play that big of a role is kind of laughable. He probably, compared to the other founders, he's not, but he definitely has some power from like what he has said himself, and nobody else who has power has really like talked down about that. They're not like, oh, he doesn't hold that much power. Like, no, he definitely owns some stake in it. I didn't mean for that to be a pun, but I kind of realized it is. But like, obviously he plays a role in it. Probably not like a CEO type role, but he definitely has like a role in the company. The fact that he is like often around the founders of Kick and like brought up with them, I believe he even like has even like confirmed himself that he does own a share of the company. He was a pretty big gambling streamer too when gambling was on Twitch, so it's not hard to like draw the conclusions that Train probably also played a big part in Kick forming as a platform, because he also wants like online gambling like Stake to be showcased to more people.
And how big he is, he's eclipsed in both equity, influence, size. Just because he's
Also, he has equity.
Just because his clips go on LSF about it doesn't mean he owns websites. I think you guys are overplaying his involvement by a long shot because it makes sense.
I think Hassan was just referring to his early involvement, which was
and I was talking about his consultation. I don't even think he's a. I didn't say he's a co-owner. I didn't even know he had equity until you just said it. I just said Train's consultation and development of the platform.
Apparently, his Twitch bio says co-owner of Kick. So
even as a consultant, hiring Train specifically after, especially after crypto.
Yeah, that's what he was.
Gambling.
He was a consultant. He was like, they wanted like someone who was a streamer, probably more like someone who was a gambling streamer. They're gonna like come on and consult them about this sort of stuff. But that person still plays a pretty big part, because that person is more than likely going to be someone that you're going to go to in order to ask questions on what they should be doing with their platform. So obviously they're going to play a big part on how, like, you know, the terms of service get used and how advertising gets handled. So like, trying to say that he doesn't play a big part, that's not as much as a good point as X probably thinks it is.
Was banned on Twitch makes it seem like the timing is relatively odd. It's a little suspicious to launch this initiative so publicly immediately after crypto gambling was eviscerated on Twitch. It seemed like they were looking for a new avenue where they could just continue live streaming and, you know, get an ROI that way by utilizing like a live streaming platform, whether it's their own or whether it's you know, another big website that they could be streaming easily on, so that they could keep driving traffic to Stake. This is my speculation, given the fact that it's mostly owned by Stake, and live streaming is not necessarily a profitable venture to get into. It's a loss leader for Amazon, and Amazon is a fucking major company, right? Their goal is to basically capture the entire market and then start figuring out, once they have monopolized the live streaming space, start figuring out how to fill the inventory and start making it more profitable. This is Amazon's goal. A separate goal also is to beef up their IVS structure, which is when they go to websites like Kick, or when they go to Stake, and Stake says, hey, we want a white label live streaming website, and Amazon sells them that product, which I believe Twitch gets. I don't know the back end of that, but I believe Twitch might even get a percentage of that as well. So,
so what Hassan basically just said is that, for those of you who don't know, Kick is subsidized by Amazon, at least. Now, a lot of people have said it was subsidized by Twitch. Technically, they're wrong. And this was something that got brought up. I believe Jake Lucky did a interview with the Twitch CEO, and they said they don't make any money off Kick, like using their servers, because that's what's happening. Is that Kick is using the servers that I believe is the AWS servers. So they use the AWS servers that are owned by Amazon to kind of like subsidize their platform. And the thing is that if Kick using their servers, that kind of generates Amazon money since they are the one who owns it. Now, a lot of people have kind of used that and be like, oh, Kick doesn't make Twitch money, even though they're kind of wrong, because technically they are right. They don't make Twitch money, they make Amazon money. It's not the same thing. Even though it is kind of the same thing, because one could argue that that money would end up being used to that money would be used to go to Twitch anyways. It might not be directly going into the pockets of Twitch, but they're probably still going to see the money that's coming out from that, because that kind of money would probably be used to fund the servers that Twitch uses as well. So it's a little weird to argue against that, or argue about the semantics of it. Well, technically it doesn't make Twitch money. It's like, yeah, it does kind of. It's just through a middleman, which is the servers that are owned by Amazon, which would more than likely just go back to Twitch.
That's crazy. I hope you get clipped and you're up on Dexerto and people are shitting on you for that take.
well, okay. First of all, Pokey, I think that if there's one person who gets shit on fucking Dexerto all day, every day, I'm getting cooked nonstop. That's not even. I do know that you do get shit on unjustifiably on a lot of stuff, but trust me, I'm getting clapped up all the time on that.
From what I've been told by many, many, many Twitter users, there's no relationship or benefit to Twitch for the fact that, Kick is using Amazon services.
Well, I think it's kind of irrelevant. I think that's kind of like flexing daddy's money, but that was my argument on that.
Oh, that's actually a good take. So that was an interesting one, at least. You said it's like flexing daddy's money. I don't really understand that, because I probably have shit on Amazon, the parent company of Twitch, more than you have. I mean, we've had fucking conversations where I've shit on Amazon. I am the single largest human donator to the Amazon labor union, which Jeff Bezos is openly antagonistic towards. I'm not exactly fond of Amazon. As a matter of fact, I've mentioned that when we were talking about how Kick is basically single-handedly kept alive by steak, I talked about how Amazon's hands are not necessarily clean either. So I don't know why you thought that was defending daddy's money.
Your wording is a little soft on the Amazon part. Okay, let's use actual adult words. Okay, yeah. Twitch is maintained by the inhumane practices and actual life squeezing, sweatshop-like conditions of employees. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
Okay,
True.
Cool. If you're gonna use the harsh wording for Kick, use the same harsh wording for Twitch.
I have.
Please.
You're literally repeating something I said. Maybe you didn't hear me say it, but I have.
Yeah, he has had the Amazon union leader on his stream before. He has constantly talked about these types of conditions, but that's not what this conversation is about. This conversation is so weird to me because it's never. Well, it should never be about Twitch versus Amazon. Obviously, yes, Amazon has terrible working conditions. It benefits off the back-breaking labor force. shit like that. Obviously, that is fucking terrible, but I never understand why this is such a like Kick versus Twitch argument when neither of them is very great. It's just arguing about whether or not Stake is using Kick as a platform to advertise their gambling website. That's it. It's why I feel like it gets so lost in the sauce. I'm not defending Twitch or anything. Obviously, again, I think it's a shitty platform. The whole new partner program, I talked about it all in the video I did with XQC about him moving to Kick. But like, it's insane to like look at this and be like, oh, I'm gonna make this about Kick versus Twitch. No, it's just arguing about whether or not gambling is playing a big role with Kick since it's owned by an online gambling website.
Just
Said
now you didn't.
that exact same thing.
Yeah, but just now you didn't. I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah. I'm not saying that like Amazon is infallible. I've never said that. As a matter of fact, I want to fix Amazon's labor practices. It's probably never going to happen. Let's be fucking real. But I'm perfectly aware of that. Okay. I think
Maybe
that
we
that's
should
bullshit.
all donate.
I think that that's bullshit for the record. I've heard you literally defend sweatshops against Moist Critical, so I don't know what your take is on that matter, but
switch up so hard.
Like, I understand if you maybe want to compare the two, but I don't even think they're comparable.
What do you
How
mean?
direct streaming and supporting and let's say, working with Kick, who's entirely funded by Stake, versus streaming on Twitch, who is owned by Amazon.
I mean,
and
you're always
Amazon,
gonna have-
obviously,
I mean, it's by proximity.
there's a lot of fucked up shit there too.
At least initially, you're always gonna have a close proximity. That's like fucking. That's like your family. You're always in some business like farming, and then the fucking like their kid does something around the idea of farming. When it's in close proximity, of course, like it'll be like that initially, right? But as it expands, making conclusions about where it's going and where it's gonna be, right? By ratio, and saying,
Wait,
oh,
how did we make conclusions about where it's going and where it's gonna be?
Wait, that's the whole base of the conversation. The argument is that it is
No,
it is made to fund gambling.
Oh yeah, so something that X is gonna bring up a lot is that yeah, they're like trying to make it an avenue into Stake now, but in the future it's gonna be so much better. Like it's kind of sad to listen to because it makes you believe that X believes that Kick really is just in for this to make streaming better for creators. Even though I don't really think that's much. I don't believe that's what they're trying to do. Obviously, the split is a lot better, but the only reason they're able to sustain that split is because of Stake. They're hoping that with Kick, it will be shown to such a larger audience that the numbers going into Stake will be able to sustain the creator split that they have right now. But the problem with that is that they have to advertise Stake by doing that in some form of fashion, like I talked about. Currently they're doing it through like naive advertisement where they're just kind of like slipping it in through the creators. But they're trying to seem like they're in it for the creators, but that's because they want larger creators of a larger audience to bring in more viewers. That's more than likely why they wanted to bring in X. I don't think they personally care if he gambles or not. I think they prefer if he did. But they know that his larger audience are going to come over, and hopefully they will see all the gambling stuff and be into that. I don't know.
Where do you think the money's gonna come from?
Do you know something called tech? You know what
Oh
tech
my
is?
god.
Tech.
I've heard this too, where he's just like, have you heard this name about tech? Like, what does he think Kick is trying to do? Do you think they're trying to like create new technology? They're being subsidized through the Amazon servers. How is that like expanding on tech using someone else's tech? Like, you're not doing anything. Like, what exactly are they frontiering when it comes to tech?
Overall,
Technology?
just the whole sector of tech. Yes.
What, are they gonna make robots?
Okay. Sorry.
The whole sector of tech? Are they gonna make robots, make microchips? Are they gonna make fucking computers too? That doesn't seem like what they're doing.
I don't want to be patronizing it, Why are you so worried about profitability when none of this shit is profitable? None of it is.
No,
Like-
because that's what we're discussing. We had the initial point that
Yeah.
Kick is probably hoping to
By the way,
profit.
like he doesn't even like go into that, like what exactly like the tech that they're like trying to make a profit off is. He's just like just the whole thing of tech. That's what's gonna profit them. But like at the same time, like yeah, the profitability is the main factor when we're talking about this, because the only way they're gonna be able to sustain a business like Kick is through stake, especially with that 95-5 split.
Sorry, Stake is hoping to profit off of Kick as a marketing tool primarily for their crypto gambling website.
So you don't think that there's
If-
a chance that
That's what
possibly
we're talking
on the
about
roadmap, the point is to sign and clean the product up, to move away from gambling, to make a strong competitor. That's all that streaming, dominate the market, and then have profitable endeavors and arouse profitability and get there somehow, right? You don't think that's a possibility? You're completely hashing
So
that out.
that's it. You
No,
bring up a really good
that
point.
can be a possibility, but it doesn't change its origins or where it's at right now.
Oh, so you're gonna
And
discredit where it's
those-
going and what
wait,
and what's
can I
about?
just
Because
No, no,
finish?
no.
the way-
Hold on. Wait.
You don't know where it's going either. Like, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about how are they making their money now. And there's nothing that, like, there's no evidence you can use to back up where they're going. Like, I don't know, Twitch could become a fucking glitter factory within a year or two. Fucking, Twitter could become a place to buy rugs. Who knows where it's going to be a few years from now. What we're talking about is what is happening now. How they're making their money now. Who gives a fuck about what they're going to do in the future? And even then, it's probably just going to be around the same thing. Like, this is like, he's just trying to like bring someone up without actually like talking about the facts of the situation. He's has like a hopeful mindset when it comes to like the future of Kick. Probably because they just offered him a bunch of money. Like he just, again, I said, he's not the right person you should ask about this. He's got a fucking bag from Kick. He's going to be a bias towards this. But even his bias towards Kick, it seems almost like a little too hopeful in terms of what he believes the platform is there to do. I don't know. It's a little weird.
Can I just-
I'm
can I
just
just
saying
cut in here?
those two things was just why I personally wouldn't align with it.
Okay, let me just cut in here really quickly.
I can't
So-
tell the future.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
Felix, you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong. Are you saying that?
By the way, this whole talk about what like the future of Kick is meant to be and like what the true like feature of Kick is meant to be, like a lot of people have like brought up similar talking points to X. Like they're just there to bring like a better future for online streamers. Even the creator of Kick has come out and said, we're in this to make it a profitable way for us to drive traffic towards our online gambling platforms. Not that specifically, but they have mentioned like online gambling is a huge reason on what they want Kick to work. They want to make their parent company more money. Just how like Amazon makes some money from Twitch. Like they want that revenue to come from their they want to use Kick and Twitch basically as like a marketing strategy to get people to go to their parent company and make that money.
The reason why Stake is investing heavily into Kick is because they want to build up a competitive live streaming platform, not to market Stake or anything like that, but instead to become a primary force in the live streaming space on its own with no genuine interest in like driving traffic to stake.com. And they're doing it in a way where they are like unimaginably unprofitable. While simultaneously giving Amazon money, like giving Amazon direct money in the form of both AWS and IVS, which is a is a copy paste of Twitch. It's like Twitch reskin basically. And they're doing this because ultimately they want to take down Amazon's live streaming market share and become the main monopoly force in the live streaming space.
Your expertise on server capacity and initial releases and whatnot is very limited. And when you talk about this shit, it falls on deaf ears. Okay, releases and day one stuff is always bound to drive more traffic. The same way that Blizzard, an industry leader in gaming, cannot have a stable release on day one. It's just too much. And
Yeah,
that is
but
to be
you
expected
can't
in
seriously be
all
comparing
fields.
yourself
In
live
all
streaming on a
fields.
website, which you can do on every other website perfectly fine, to Blizzard releasing a game to an entire marketplace for the first. Like
How
Diablo
about-
launch is not comparable to you live streaming on Twitch versus live streaming on Kick. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because, yes, you're right, Activision Blizzard fucks up regularly with their services, but those services on release day are fucking, like, they have significantly more active users than you going from one website to the next. For example, here, I'll ask you a question. If you, tomorrow, decided to go to YouTube, let's say you got a contract at YouTube, it was a massive deal, and you moved over to YouTube and you live streamed for the first time, do you think you'd be able to effectively crash YouTube?
No.
No,
Yeah,
right? You wouldn't be able to crash YouTube, right?
Maybe.
No, hold up, let me talk about. Your knowledge with this is so limited. Since you went anecdotally about this, actually, I want to use an example that actually happened.
This is something that infuriates me about X during this debate, is he'll always like say something and never elaborate on it. Like, from what I remember, I don't even think he elaborates on this. He just says, your knowledge is limited. Your knowledge is limited on this. Or he uses it a lot during this debate already, where he'll just like make assumptions off what they said. Like with that one question Hassan gave, he was just like, you're like, I forget what he directly said. I don't know. It's the way that people like X kind of operate, in which I believe it's like strawmanning, I believe is the right word for it, where they'll pick like one little thing from what you said and be like, nah, this is wrong. But I don't even think, but X doesn't even really do that. Well, he doesn't do it for this, I'm pretty sure.
Only a couple months ago, the Squid Games event with all the YouTubers and streamers that we did on Twitch, what happened on that day? Twitch crashed, right? That's why, in comparison, these things happen, and that's the same
It
thing.
does.
That's the
Yes,
same for
but
ratio. For
now
Kick.
we're comparing 10 to 1,000. You know what I mean? That's the difference. Because
true.
the
Not
reason
true.
why I already understand that. I'm accounting for you going from one live streaming platform to another competent live streaming platform versus one live streaming platform that is like very clearly
Maybe
not
a more
ready for the
comparable
rate
thing
limit.
is, has there ever been a large streamer who went from one platform to another and their first stream crashed said platform?
Something that I'm going to do real quick is we're going to look at XQC's usual viewership when it comes to Twitch,
What is that?
That, my friend, is a
and
20.
then we'll look at what his usual, let's look. Well, actually, we could look right now. What is the usual viewership? 61K. Let's look at his previous ones. His recent streams, there was a, this one has a couple views. A couple 100K. Now that's not, you could argue if that's like his usual viewership. Actually, I'm pretty sure it would be. It would be considered his usual viewership. But let's go over to Kick now. And we're going to check out what his usual viewership is over there. So 46K, like, we're going this one, it still says my first stream. So like 20K, 5K. The viewer base is very small compared to what it usually is. So like, if this was what his like, viewership looked like on Kick for his first stream, I don't know how it seems like very weird that it would crash on its first day when the numbers are so exceedingly different from it. Like, it's a way smaller viewership than what it is on Twitch. So it feels weird that it would crash on this site but not Twitch. But again, their server space is probably smaller. But then again, that supports Hassan and Poki's claim, on which, like, they're probably just not ready for it yet. They probably weren't ready for a viewership of that magnitude, even though, like, yeah, like, it's a big name, it was a big event, but it kind of shows how they're not ready for this kind of viewership yet, if they can't even handle, like, 40k viewers. And yeah, like, comparing his first stream to, like, an Activision game is a little weird. Like, millions of people play Call of Duty on their first day. Like, or even, like, hundreds of thousands, I feel like would probably be more appropriate. And it just doesn't feel comparable to what he is saying.
Yeah, I remember he did.
It's basically them bringing up the point that, like, Kick very much relies on Amazon, the owners of Twitch, to run their platform. It's mostly just kind of bringing that up. Like, Kick relies on Amazon to keep their doors open. And because of that, they know they're going to lose money on that, as well as, like, they're going to lose money with the whole creator split. So they're using that money for, like, Amazon to, like, you know, pay Amazon to use their servers, as well as kind of, like, support themselves with that creator split. And they're hoping that that money will help them make more money by keeping their doors open and allowing more people to go to Kick, which will help them more or less go to Stake, which will help drive more users to Stake through their platform. Hopefully you were able to understand what I was saying. I was just kind of I know that's probably not the best way to explain it. It's a little confusing, but we're just gonna move on.
Okay. Kick
So
is
X,
smaller.
to your
God,
point.
no. You guys overshadowed something very important. What you're saying is that the technology won't change. No progress will be made, and there isn't a point where there's a possibility that there's an audience flip and market share change that's significant enough.
Dude, you're the one making these assumptions. We never said that. We're talking about Kick now and where it's come from.
That's what.
And that's basically what this debate really relies on. It's just X being like, no, Kick could be so much more. Like, it could be so much more. Like, you guys are not even giving it a chance. And they're like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about where it is now, where it comes from, and where it's making its money. Which, while there's not stone cold facts about how they're making it, you can definitely, like, make assumptions or, like, assume where it's coming from, because it's not that hard. It's very plain as day. Like, oh no, the online gambling platform wouldn't use their streaming platform as a way to make their online gaming platform a profit. No, that would never happen. When you talk, of course it's going to happen. Of course they're doing that. We're not talking about the future, we're talking about what's going on right now. We're not comparing it to Amazon, we're just talking about the platform itself. It's what I hate about this whole conversation. Like, both Amazon and Kick suck. We're just talking about where does Kick make its money. I don't know. I don't feel like I really want to go with this debate any longer. Hello everyone, Editing Fruity here. I kind of wanted to jump in on the back of this video just to kind of add further context regarding the situation. Now, when I originally made this video, I was kind of being a little more kind to Kick than what my opinions are now. Now, even though I did state in this video that the whole conversation shouldn't be around Twitch versus Kick, I can't ignore that this is where this whole discourse has kind of gone, where instead of looking where Kick is actually making his money, it's basically become which streaming platform is better. And don't get me wrong, I still definitely do have my problems with Amazon, but when it comes to the two, Kick still is the worst choice, in my opinion. Now, a lot of people say, well, oh, well, Amazon uses ads to get people to go to, Amazon Shopping and all of its other services with ads on Twitch. And if they're able to do that, then why isn't Kick able to do what they do? And I don't think I should have to really elaborate on how an e-commerce site is different than an online crypto gambling site that's not very well regulated. Like, I don't think I should have to explain that. Gambling, in my opinion, is a lot worse than people wanting to buy laundry soap. And a lot of people will add into the discourse, well, Amazon has a habit of treating their workers very unwell. So one could argue that if you are streaming on Twitch, that doesn't make you better than the people streaming on Kick since you work for a company that treats their workers poorly. But to me, that doesn't work the same because Amazon's purpose with Twitch isn't to fund their workers' abuse. Like, they're not trying to promote workers' abuse on their website. They're trying to promote their e-commerce site. It would be a lot different if Amazon was just like, hey guys, come to our platform so we can show you ads about how poorly we treat our workers. That's just not the same thing as what Kick is doing, which is funding a vice. It's funding a vice that can ruin people's lives and even drive them to suicide. And I've done further research when it comes to Stake, or at least I've been able to get more information from other people regarding Stake, and Stake has paid Aiden Ross and other creators to use its site, and it has been said that with Aiden Ross and other creators like him who were paid to use the site, the people behind the scenes would actually boost the odds for those creators than the normal odds are for everyday users of the site. So just because your favorite creator might get lucky a lot, that doesn't mean that you are, because they're trying to do that in a way for you to come to the site. Now, I don't really have a problem with like smaller creators using this opportunity to try out a new streaming site in a way to kind of build an audience and hopefully get more money quickly. But at the same time, I don't think that's what people are talking about when they're talking about how they don't agree with people moving to Kick and how they think it's a bad idea. Because usually those conversations revolve around people bringing their audience to Kick just drives more people who could possibly become addicted to gambling through, Stake's involvement with Kick. But when it comes to smaller streamers, as someone who also streams and isn't big at all, it's very hard to really make that argument for people like that. So I think doing this umbrella term of everyone who streams on Kick is a bad person, I feel like if you are going to use that, I feel like with people like Aiden Ross, XQC, Amaranth, that argument is logical to make because they are huge streamers and they are taking a portion of their Twitch audience and bringing them to Kick. And it's very likely that those people could fall down the pipeline into gambling. And while I still do hold the opinion that the whole XQC deal with him getting $100 million is a good deal, I still understand that it comes with a caveat that that money is being used for him to come onto a platform in hopes that his audience will come as well and get hooked into gambling. Now, I was able to find this tweet from one of the owners of Kick, from Jake Lucky, who also shared this on Twitter. And basically this is saying that they're trying to grow their community, they're trying to fix on a few things with Kick, but one of the biggest things coming from this tweet is usually the stuff on the bottom paragraph. Usually they say they're going to give less unnecessary exposure to gambling related content throughout their recommended formulas, and one could argue that this is from the argument that a lot of people have been making about Kick, in which gambling is being kind of natively advertised. Like, even though it might not be in front of your face in terms of ads, it's still kind of in front of your face because a lot of the recommended accounts that you would see on the left would be, at least 2 out of 5 of them would be gambling streams. And I believe there was even a Twitter user who pointed out that the 3rd and 5th slot in the recommended tab were often reserved for gambling streamers. So it's pretty hard to argue that they weren't at least trying to advertise it in some way. However, they also said they are going to add in the ability to toggle off all gambling related streams, which is definitely a good thing. I think that is a great thing for people who are very against gambling streams, who don't want to see it in their feed. However, I don't really think this solves their problem all that well, as just because you can toggle it off, it doesn't mean that A, it's not there for the people who are already gambling addicts to that site, or about to become gambling addicts to that site. But also B, for people who don't really care or probably aren't like completely against gambling streams, that still leaves the door open for them to get hooked on it. It's not a permanent solution, it's just a band-aid over it. And you know, a lot of people argue, well, if Stake kind of owns Kick in a way, and you get rid of online gambling, or at least keep it very limited, then how do you expect them to make money? Well, that's the thing. If you have to limit the gambling on your website to not even include the site that you own, then maybe you should try to regulate your site a little bit more and try to make it more ethical. Like, in my opinion, if this was just another streaming website in which the people who were behind it really did want to create a streaming website to combat against Twitch, to make it better for the streamers themselves, then I would be all for it. But it's not. It's clearly meant to be a gateway into online gambling. And I just don't know if A, this is going to work out for them in the long term, or B, it's going to be that sustainable. Because like I said before, this whole like toggle off gambling streams, that's just a band-aid over the solution. It's not going to help the conversations around this. It's just kind of putting a nice little band-aid for everyone who's on Kick's side to be like, oh, see, you can just toggle it off. Not understanding that some people, maybe even most people, aren't really going to care that much about it. It's only really going to be the people who are very much against online gambling who are going to be against it. It's only really going to be the people who are very much against online gambling who are going to be the ones who toggle it off. However, I feel like the people who are already very much against online gambling aren't even going to be on the site anyways. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents at the end of this. I feel like I didn't really give my own opinion that well in this video. I had an earlier part where I went very much in depth, but I felt like it was very unnecessary, and again, I feel like I was kind of being a little too gray in this situation. Like, I was kind of giving Kick a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt, being like, oh, well, Amazon isn't that great either. But at the same time, I feel like what Amazon is trying to lead their consumers on Twitch too, with their e-commerce website and like Audible, shit like that, it's not even comparable to what Kick is trying to do. What Kick is trying to do would ruin way more lives than people who are just trying to buy laundry soap or buy a shirt. That's it. And I feel like it's very ingenuous to try to compare an e-commerce site to literally an addiction. And I'll see you guys in the next one.